we kept hearing, oh yeah, the money was filtered down from this corporation to this sub-corporation, and then it would end up in somebody like, some family member's bank account. Well, that's why all of them are now being, I think, are now being protected from prosecution.
Hey, Brian?
With a preemptive pardon. Yeah.
Just to give you some perspective, I told Chad this. George W. Bush, total number of pardons, 200. Barack Obama, right. Total number of pardons, 1927. Not even a quarter of what Biden has done. And then Donald Trump, during his first term, was 237. His is 8,064.
It's amazing. I've never seen anything quite like it. Apparently everybody in Washington is getting a pardon. But again, why is there a need for a pardon if they've done nothing wrong? Which is the question that keeps coming back to mind.
I think a lot of people have that question, Brian. So
I think people know the answer to that question too.
I think they do. They'll say, well, it was because he was going to come for them. Whatever. The reality is, you give people, and I don't even know how the pardon works, because you usually have to have done something, been convicted of something to use it. You have a preemptive pardon. What is it? In case of emergency, break the glass and grab my pardon?
I guess this is new territory for me. I don't know.
So you're out there, and obviously you're checking everything out. I was just seeing some video from the Capital One Center. Brian, people are. So you can't have anything in there. So people, like women, are dropping their Louis Vuitton purses, just grabbing their cash and their credit cards, and they're leaving everything out there. There are everything you could think of is just laying out in front of the Capital One Center.
Well, the thing about it is that it really is a chaotic thing when you make a decision that late in the game. Now, again, I'm going to take them for their word that they say it's about the weather, and let's assume that it was. But still, when you start changing things that dramatically, at the very last minute, there are going to be a lot of hiccups. And I think that's probably what has happened here. Oh, we needed clear bags. Nobody told us. Well, yeah, normally if you had a week to work that all out, you would have gotten that notification. But things happen so quickly. I think they just had to sort of make it up as they're going along. We're told that they pulled the template, basically the plan from 85?
Yeah.
During the Reagan inauguration, when they had to do the inauguration inside. That was just shortly before I got to Washington, but they apparently pulled the template for that. Well, a lot of things have changed since 1985 that I don't think they anticipated.
So he's going to go in there today. He's going to sign, I don't know how many executive orders and and actions he's going to sign, and then away it goes. But tomorrow is when the real work begins, Brian. And I've been saying this for a while. Trump doesn't have 4 years. Trump has about a year to a year and a half to get everything moving in the right direction.
I would say 6 months. I would even, because look, if you don't get it in the first round, and the things that you want, that's why he keeps saying, I want a big, beautiful bill. He wants it all wrapped up into one bill, and he wants to get it done so that he can say, this is what we accomplished. Because I'll be honest with you, in a 4-year term, if you don't get it done in the first 6, maybe 8 months, then it's not likely to happen for you.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and I've been saying, because people are like, well, no, he's got 4 years. No, he doesn't, because then what happens is people start to turn. Then your Congress people change, and all of a sudden you lose the Senate, and now you've got 2 years where you've got the Democrats with power there, and you know what they can do and what they might do. So you really got to get this done quick, because once you get this done, it shuts people up and people move on.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting day. I think by the end of the day, we're going to see that a lot of things that Biden did that harmed this country are going to be undone simply by executive order. And that will be a step in the right direction. And we're going to start seeing, I guarantee you by tomorrow, you're going to have video leading tomorrow morning's newscast of all the arrests they made overnight of people that needed to be taken out of this country because they came here illegally. They're criminals, they're thugs, and they need to leave. And you're going to see that as the lead story, I bet, tomorrow morning on tomorrow morning's newscast.
Yeah, I know Tom Holman was talking about it, San Diego.
They're not going to waste any time. No. That guy's been champing at the bit for about 2 months now.
I mean, it's one of those things where he's ready to get out of the blocks, and that's going to happen, I think, soon, very soon. Like you said, maybe tonight, maybe later on this afternoon. You never know with him. The reality, though, is as they move forward, is you're going to be able to close the border. You're going to be able to do a lot of different things when it comes to that, just through executive. But then you've got some other stuff that you're going to have to get done, and you're going to need Congress. And I do worry about because they don't have a big, you can't lose more than 2, and then you're in a heap of trouble. So I do worry about how that's going to go. He's got more in the Senate, than he does. I feel I have more confidence in the Senate than I do in Congress.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment as well. It's going to get down to a very small number of votes that he can afford to lose on anything. And, I think the real question here is will he have the support of the House and the Senate for the things that he said he wanted to do? Everybody knew what he was running on. There are no surprises here. No big shocks. So, is Congress going to be with him in the way that they need to be with him? I'm like you. I'm a lot more worried about the House in that regard than I am the Senate, because he can only afford to lose a few votes in the House before, they have to depend on Democrats to pass some of this stuff.
And, when I look at the Senate, I think to myself, some of the stuff that he wants to do and get through, that they could do it on single bills and stuff like that, because I think he would have even some support of some Democrats who look at some of these immigration bills and certain things like that and are like, yeah, that's a must. But that House, because I do worry about people that are into being celebrities. They're more interested in making a stand, getting their name out there, than doing some things that you think are the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some real I think there'll be a real backlash against those members if they stand in the way of the thing that Americans hired Donald Trump to fix. If they are perceived as being in the way, I can guarantee you they're going to have a lot of political problems. So I assume that the Republicans will be there. But you can never, there's one oddball congressman who can throw a wrench in the whole thing, and I'm really hoping that doesn't happen.
Talking to Brian Wilson, who's out there. Thanks to our buddies over at Busy Bee Plumbing as you're out there in D.C. and stuff. So, Brian, what's your plans for the rest of the day? Are you moving around? What's the deal?
Well, I was going to try to move around more, but the problem here is that everything is so secure. And then not only that, just to bore people with some technical stuff, we have one good, real, reliable location for broadcasting, and my technical stuff that I would use to go out and roam is not working so well. What happens in a situation like this, every time there's some kind of an official movement, when I say presidential movement or a former president movement, they will take down the internet for a while, and they'll turn it off for a second or two. And it's to protect them while they're moving people around the city of Washington. But when that happens, I do lose my signal. So I'm going to stick with my best microphone and my best set of equipment, and probably will just be hanging out in Congressman Rose's office for the rest of the day.
What is, you got out there a couple days ago. Have you seen, obviously the show of force is tremendous, but have you seen it grow throughout the last couple days?
Yeah, we got here a couple of days ago, and we've been, spent some time this weekend driving around, and the town is a little different. They say that nobody comes to work in downtown Washington anymore. If that's true, then it was hard for me to find evidence of that, because their traffic was a nightmare. Streets are closed. They go through all this elaborate security because they're going to have an event outside on the mall where thousands and thousands and thousands of people are going to attend, and then they say, "Oh, never mind. We're going to do this inside now," and it turned things into absolute turmoil. But just the security lockdown that is still in place, it'll take a month to clean this town up and get all of this fencing down and return things to normal. So it's crazy. There may not be many federal workers coming to work today, but I have a feeling that's going to change in the next few days as Donald Trump insists that they all come back to work.
That's funny, because the whole Doge thing there's already a lawsuit out there ready to roll, to say, well, what you're doing is unconstitutional, or it's whatever they're saying, because there's going to be lawsuits on every one of these executive orders and executive
absolutely
action.
Yeah.
So the funny thing, though, is the amount of people who don't go to work in the federal government. In many of these places, we've got these beautiful new buildings that are completely empty, and that to me is going to be fascinating to watch how Doge works, because for many of these people, they're protected through laws. The federal government's protected,
and a bunch of them just got new contracts that project that into the future. In other words, the Biden people and the Biden administration did everything they can to Trump-proof this city. Now, they can't do it completely, but that's what they tried to do. And they actually gave contracts to a bunch of federal employees saying, hey, you know what? If you want to continue to work from home, that's just fine by us. And those contracts run for, a couple of years into the future. So it may take them a while to get everybody back to Washington to go to work.
It's going to be interesting. Brian, we'll be talking to you throughout the day as we're getting ready to do some signing. Hey, what'd you think of Melania's hat? I felt like she was going to go riding in a horse.
Yeah, I'm watching the signing ceremony now where he signs a bunch of documents, and he's doing all of that right now in the presence of the leadership of the House and the Senate. Chuck Schumer's there with his head bowed, looking pretty miserable. And there's Hakeem Jeffries, who's at least being polite about all. But this is a day of pomp and ceremony and signatures and all kinds of stuff, and you got to cross your T's and dot your I's, and so that's what they're doing now.
Hey, Brian,
yep.
Are you seeing the TV? Obviously, right?
Right.
What room are they in? Do you know?
This I think is on the Senate side. I believe this is. I'm not sure. It's hard for me to tell from here, but I think it's on the Senate side. It looks like it is on the Senate side, but I'm not real sure. That might be the speaker's gallery, though. I can't tell.
Yeah, it's definitely, they got everybody around there. It's VP, you got Klobuchar.
It's very Trump-like, a lot of gold on the walls.
A lot of gold on the wall, a lot of people wearing red ties, a lot of people wearing blue ties. Some people are laughing even on the Democrat. And do you think, he put that out there today that, he wants the Democrats and Republicans to get along. We know Trump, he says a lot of stuff. I think he means it, but it doesn't mean he's going to change his ways. I think, though, all that matters is, can he do enough to make people who are Democrats, who maybe held their nose and voted for him, to continue on that path of supporting him when it comes to, because I think, besides immigration, economy is going to be huge.
Right. He's going to be able to answer and do a lot of the things he said he was going to do right off the bat. And even before the time today is over, he will have done a lot of those things that he promised to do. The economy will take a little time. And the real question here is, with all of these tariffs, do you have to sort of take a hit before things get better? And if you have to take that hit before things get better, how do you explain that to people who wanted, some real change economically? Well, so it's going to be interesting to watch that guy and how that unfolds in the next few days.
Absolutely. Brian Wilson with us. He's out there in D.C. We'll be talking to him throughout the day. Matt will have him as well. A lot of stuff still to come, Brian. So we'll talk to you in just a little bit. Appreciate it. Again, Trump doing some signings here. He's going to go to a luncheon. Then he's off to the Capital One Center to do some more signing. A lot more stuff to talk about coming up, not just about, this day itself, but forward, because forward is where you're going, because you can't, you try looking backwards and running forward. You're going to crash. And some of you are like, no, he should do all these investigations, do these things. I think the whole thing is going forward and winning is going to cure most of the ills. And that's what you want to do, especially if you're him. Because let me tell you something, legacy is important to these guys.